Panther people, what up? We're going to talk about the Panthers losing at home to the Browns. Should we be really concerned or somewhat encouraged? You're watching Panthers Post with Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining. If you're new here, welcome to the community. It is a beautiful place to be, both in the comments section, on Twitter, on Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all the socials at Panthers Post #1. I welcome you all. A little bit about myself real quick. From Canada, been a Panthers fan for 11 years now, but I've always kept an eye on them since the Mushi Muhammad, Steve Smith days, back to Super Bowl against the Patriots. I love Deshaun Foster, love the visor. A little bit about myself, okay? I'm the only Panther fan around here in Southern Ontario, so I decided to start this channel when they traded for Sam Darnold. I was super pissed. No one cared. Started this channel, and then boom, here we go. Over 3,000 subs. And well, this is our second season now, so feeling pretty good about it. So welcome. Let's talk about the Panthers. Let's go. All right, so the Panthers lose a nail biter, probably one of the closer games. So the Panthers lose to the Cleveland Browns, 26-24. A rookie kicker for the Browns with a 58-yard field goal with dying seconds left to go in the game to put the visiting Browns, up by 2, and the Panthers couldn't do much with 8 seconds left on the clock. Then start the season at 0-1. So here are some of my observations. I'm going to focus on player by player because it's just easier to compartmentalize this way, especially since the game literally just ended. So before I go player by player reviews, let's talk about all encompassing. Because of the rain that's been happening in the Carolinas, they couldn't use blue paint for whatever reason on the field. So the field itself kind of looked like half complete. It was black and white, but it was missing that Carolina blue. And that's kind of how it felt like watching this team, at least on offense. You know, they had the pieces, they're wearing the uniforms, but there was just something missing with this squad entering week 1 against the Browns. Start with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, the hotly talked about quarterback going into this revenge game against the Cleveland Browns, who basically gave up on him. He was selling shirts all left, right, and center. People were buying them like hotcakes. People buying Baker Mayfield jerseys. People were so hype about this guy. We were made to believe that he is potentially a future franchise quarterback for this team. So he went into this game, and honestly, when I first saw it in the first half, it honestly just felt like, what was with this hullabaloo about him and Sam Darnold splitting, first team reps during preseason, during training camp? This guy should have been with the starters right away. They picked him up for a reason. He took a $3 million pay cut for a reason because they must have told him, hey, you're going to be the starter. Sam is going to be the second string guy. And it just looked like there was a lot of disconnect with Baker, with his receivers, with the offensive line. And it's not just communication-wise, it's just that they just literally haven't played a lot of games with each other, whether it's at practice or whether it's, during the preseason. Before this game, Baker's real extended time with this team was against the Buffalo Bills, and it was for a quarter and a bit. That's not a lot. This was almost like an extended preseason, but it was an extended preseason game against his former team in front of a live crowd, crazy crowd, expecting the most out of this squad. He could have been more prepared. It's not just it's a team effort type situation. So it looked like Baker kind of too hype on this. He always says he woke up dangerous. Today it looked like he woke up and didn't really wake up. It looks like he was still sleeping a little bit. And so that was what was it? I think I lost count the amount of batted balls Baker had in the first half. I think it was 4, and then I stopped counting. And then, Carolina Panther fans, they're used to physically imposing quarterbacks. Cam Newton, 6'6", 260, 250. And then Baker is 6'1", maybe 210 pounds. And, you can tell the defensive line, all they had to do is, a little bit of a hop up there and, 4 batted balls in the first half at least. That was rough. Yeah, so Baker was definitely rushed as well. We're going to talk about the offensive line, specifically Icky. But, he didn't have a lot of time to throw. He did not have a lot of time to throw. He was kind of reduced to getting checkdowns. Things definitely did open up in the second half a little bit. And so let's talk about that. So Baker in the first half, not great. Not going to say Sam Darnold territory, but there were points in there where it was a fumble or an interception or, just batted balls. Things that could have been surefire picks. Baker just wasn't on the money. In the second half, things got a little bit better. Surprise, surprise. Kind of opened up a little bit when they started giving Christian McCaffrey the ball more, but he had obviously a nice connection with Robbie Anderson for the touchdown there. Didn't expect Robbie Anderson to be the first Carolina Panther to get a receiving touchdown through Baker. Totally thought it was going to be, maybe Higgins or DJ Moore. But, he finds a nice read there to find Robbie Anderson. He then rushes in for a 7-yard score right up the middle against his old team. That kind of brought this game a lot closer to the way it should have been. And so he definitely came alive a little bit more. So there is some silver lining in this loss. It looks like at least Baker got a full game with this team. that against the Giants, who are not going to be as good, at least in the secondary, a defensive line, you're not going to be going up against, a Myles Garrett with the Giants. And so you would assume that he would get better into the next game. He got a full game under his belt, a little bit more rhythm with this squad, and then hopefully Ben McAdoo calls some plays that don't put so much pressure on Baker. Literally, the first play of the game was a Baker throw, and this is a Carolina Panthers team where the face of the franchise, when guys like Luke, Olsen, Cam, what's his name? I totally forgot the name of our center, and I'm a terrible person. When they all left, they paid Christian McCaffrey because he's the face of the franchise. Your first play of the game should be a Christian McCaffrey play because, as we've known, this guy is not a 2-yard and a cloud of dust kind of guy. Like, he can make some plays, especially after the first tackle. So I think if they change the philosophy a little bit, don't put so much on Baker. Baker, 16 for 27, 235 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. 27 times too much. Like, I remember last year, who was it? I think it was Matt Rule said he wanted 30 passes, 30 runs, nice and even. Christian McCaffrey, 10 carries, 10 touches. That's not what's up. Baker, don't put so much pressure on Baker, guys. Too much pressure, asking too much out of Baker right away. Maybe later down in the season, but right now just too much. Just keep it on Christian McCaffrey, D'Onta Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, nowhere to be seen. Lessen the load on Baker. Let him get the playbook a little bit down, more gelling with the team, and then let the offensive line gel as well because there's some new pieces there as well. And again, against a defensive front, which I mentioned in the last video, is the strength, and that's where the power imbalance was between these two squads. Christian McCaffrey now. This guy, again, 10 touches, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. In terms of receiving, Christian McCaffrey just 4 catches, 24 yards. Longest was for 21. So to win, to be successful, everyone who's anybody could tell you, Baker will be a success. This team will be a success. Matt Rule will still have a job if Christian McCaffrey is healthy. So when you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey, you play him. You didn't play him throughout the preseason. This guy said during the broadcast that he spent twice as much time recovering. So the guy isn't wound so tight. He's loose. You saw the way he jumped into that end zone in his first touchdown of the year. That guy got some serious air. He is good to go. Take off the plastic. Just play this guy. 10 rushes for 33 yards is a disgrace. You got to run this. There's a reason why you got D'Onta Foreman. There's why you got Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard, I think, got 2 snaps, or at least 2 carries. Play this man. That's all I'm saying. Play him. You paid him. You don't have to pay him after this. If he breaks, at least you say you tried. But you got to take the plastic off. It's not the preseason anymore. You can't warm him up. This is against the Cleveland Browns, people. Nick Chubb, 22 carries. Kareem Hunt, 11 carries. 141, almost 200 yards. 217 yards rushing for the Cleveland Browns against this Panthers defense, which we're going to talk about. But Christian McCaffrey and this backfield needs to be used more. DJ Moore had more rushing attempts than D'Onta Foreman. This big body guy who backed up Derrick Henry, who did a great job at that, and that's why you picked him up in free agency. DJ Moore should not be, having 1 less carry than D'Onta Foreman. It should be Christian McCaffrey, D'Onta Foreman, then maybe DJ Moore, Laviska Shenault on the inactive list right now, but maybe later on in the season you could use him. But Christian McCaffrey should be your bell cow. He should be matching at least what Nick Chubb is doing. 22 carries. Let's go. Use this guy up. Just use him. Just use him. Lessen the load, as I mentioned before, on Baker Mayfield. Give it to Christian. Once he started giving the Christian, who only touched it 5 times out of 27 plays in the first half, things started opening up. Robbie Anderson started getting open. Mistakes started happening in the secondary there. Christian McCaffrey getting covered by enough defensive players to allow Baker Mayfield to run straight up the middle for 7 yards for a touchdown. So just play him more against a Giants team next week. Just the philosophy is take the plastic off. All right? Play him. Take the training wheels off. I think he's good to go, gang. Not much to say out of the receiving corps because they are going to be, obviously their production is going to be based on how Baker does. And as I mentioned before, Baker, there was too much being asked of him literally right off the gate. Too much. So for them to, and not saying they had a bad game, like Ian Thomas had at one point the biggest offensive play in the first half. Obviously Robbie Anderson finding pay dirt as well. And then you had DJ Moore who has his moments in the second half. And also Shouts to everyone who called me out last episode. I said he was a captain. He is not. I find that strange. Either way, but I'll talk more. I think the receivers did fine. They did what they were asked to do given the circumstances, and these were the circumstances. Ike Ekwonu, we know this is going to happen. We know he's a highly touted guy, 6th overall for the Panthers, but he got taken to school on multiple occasions, back-to-back from Myles Garrett. This is not a surprise. Matt Rule said that, they can only help him for so much. They can't always double-team him because you're going to have to, play somewhat balanced. And so Icky got schooled a couple times by a Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time winner. And so he got taken to school. That is nothing to be ashamed of. There definitely was some moments where he either lost his footing, couldn't keep up with Myles, who there was a point where it was a back-to-back, taken to school, taken to the woodshed type situation by Myles Garrett, where he had some help from Tommy Tremble, and then Icky just couldn't make up the rest of the way. He just couldn't get there quick enough, or he was leaning too hard, and then he just completely missed his guy, and then Myles Garrett pays a little visit to Baker Mayfield. But Icky's only going to get better. He is a rookie. You're going to learn baptism by fire type situation, sink or swim. He sank a couple times, but in the meantime, in the second half, as I mentioned, Baker did have some time. Thanks to Icky, he is going to learn. He is only going to get better. Very few guys are going to challenge him as much as Myles Garrett. So I'm not going to kill him. Not going to kill the offensive line because, again, they didn't play a lot of games with each other last year. Not at all. Brand new offensive line. They're only going to gel. They're only going to get better. But it's unfortunate that it took a regular season game where they, in my opinion, had a lot weighing on this. They had to win. They had the game. But there were some moments in there, especially in the first half, where they let Baker come vulnerable, and it forced hurried passes, batted balls. He just did not have the protection. Even the analysts on the CBS broadcast said, Baker's got to get rid of that ball quick because the protection just isn't there, but it'll get there with time. Luckily, the Panthers in the NFC South, that's kind of watered down. I haven't checked on the Falcons score, but I'm pretty sure they beat the Saints. Okay, the Saints won 27-26 by 1 point. So a couple less than 3 score games for these NFC South teams. So it's a mess of a division. They're going to have time to learn this offensive line. They're going to have time to gel. And then hopefully the division continues to be a dumpster fire that it's not going to kill them that bad going 0-1. Talk about the defense, the run defense. We said that was an issue after that last preseason game against the Bills when you saw the first team guys go off and the Bills just run all over the second team guys. We see the Bills continue to do that against Super Bowl champs. But then, as I mentioned before, the Cleveland Browns are 200 yards rushing over that, 217 yards rushing against this defense. I don't know how that's going to change. Davion Nixon is on the team. He's on the practice squad. Obviously, the rest of the NFL didn't value him the way we did, so it's not like he's going to be a game changer, but something's got to happen with the run defense where guys can't just do whatever they want. Nick Chubb came in there mid-season form, did whatever he wanted against our defense. And again, that's how you help a quarterback out that's kind of new to the system. Jacoby Brissett, in this case, who passed for 34 times, but you let the load off him a little bit. He didn't have to carry the team because you had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt doing whatever they wanted against our defense. Pass defense, some silly penalties from Xavier Woods. Pass interference that put the Cleveland Browns into scoring distance eventually happened. And then you had J.C. Horn, who had a problem into the draft process, getting flags, a couple holds. He'll get better at that. Again, live bullets. Didn't play that much during the preseason. This is like an extended preseason. Unfortunate that it happened in a game that they kind of had to win, in my opinion. But I thought the secondary was fine. C.J. Henderson looks live. He's just running around all over the place. I love that. Could have had a pick if it wasn't for that Xavier Woods penalty. So I thought the defense played okay. Frankie Louva had some nice open field tackles. Shaq Thompson, again, a guy who didn't play during the preseason. Got to get up to speed. But all in all, the run defense is brutal. It's brutal. It's tough to watch. And against Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants next week, they cannot let that happen because he'll make you pay. I know he's been busted a little bit, but he has that home run capability, and so you got to knock him down. You got to tighten up. Got to tighten up. But all in all, defense kept the offense in this game. They did. Jacoby Brissett and the Cleveland Browns offense really were opportunistic, but they weren't elite. They weren't doing anything special. And so the defense kept the offense in this game. Bend but don't break. They almost broke. Unfortunate that there's stupid roughing the passer penalty on Brian Burns should never have happened. Even the CBS team said that should not have been a penalty. That's what brought the Browns into makeable field goal distance. It was a 58-yarder with the penalty. Without the penalty, there was no chance that was happening. Panthers start 1-0. So is what it is. You know, it was a close game. It shouldn't have been a close game. What I'm saying is don't let the refs dictate the game. That's all I'm saying. But the defense was a bit of a bright spot, gave the offense the opportunity to make it a close game. Next week against the Giants, just don't let them run for over 200 yards. It's not a recipe for success. Right, so overall thoughts, Panthers 0-1, cannot afford to go 0-2. I mentioned if you're going to go 0-2, we might see a week 3 firing of Matt Rule, honestly, depending on how they lose. This was a close one. There was some silver linings in this. I could see the offense taking some strides in the second half. As I mentioned before, if the offensive line can gel a little bit more, and if somehow they can coach up just stopping the run, that would definitely help. And again, you're not going to play a team that has a 1-2 punch like the Cleveland Browns do all season long, especially with the New York Giants coming up. You got Saquon Barkley again, beat up a little bit, watching more tennis than actually playing football. So if they can just learn from these mistakes, defensively, offensive line gel a little bit more, and then just Ben McAdoo, just use Christian McCaffrey, use Deontay Foreman, take the pressure off Baker, at least for now. Maybe later on this season, you can, unleash the dog and let him do his thing. But as we can see, he's not getting the protection. And then when you're asking him to do things, it's not turning out well. Panthers lose 26-24, start 0-1. Giants next week. Let me know how you feel about the Panthers right now. Were you at the game? How was the vibe? It actually seemed pretty electric, not going to lie. Let me know.